place in nomination the name of her favorite son as a candidate for the office of President of the United States of America. Democrats from all across North Carolina assembled at the State Democratic Convention in Raleigh on June 6 and unanimously adopted a resolution instructing the North Carolina delegation to the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago to place in nomination the name of our distinguished and beloved governor and to vote for him on the first ballot and on every succeeding ballot thereafter until such time as our delegation was released by him. The pride and confidence demonstrated by the North Carolina Democrats in this great man is exhibited by the mandate of this resolution. It is a fitting honor for North Carolina to bestow upon Dan Moore. He has served, Mr. Chairman, the people of the state of North Carolina during the greater part of his adult life as a dedicated and outstanding public servant. He has foregone other rewards which might have come to him to assume the high responsibility and challenge of public office from the lowest level to the highest. He has demonstrated courage and imagination in difficult times, and by the force of his own unshaken and unshakable will, he has moved North Carolina from the threshold of greatness to the summit of achievement and progress. The people of North Carolina recognize the great debt that they owe to this outstanding and beloved man. But by placing his name in nomination, we do more than merely pay him the tribute he so richly deserves. North Carolina Democrats feel and believe that he represents and embodies the true and abiding spirit of the Democratic Party. He believes, and the people of North Carolina believe, that government is a servant of man and not the master. North Carolina believes, and we believe, that he personifies every quality we look for in our search for that person who is to be the next president of the United States. He is strong, he is courageous, and he is a man of God. We need him and more men like him in the high places of government. History will record the greatness of his administration as it is inscribed upon the permanent page. So is it etched in the minds and hearts of a grateful people. They have the solid and lasting proof that he succeeded in moving North Carolina from the quiet pedestals of a comfortable tradition into the vanguard of 20th century America. To those now, and in later years, who can read and see and understand, he will emerge as the governor who accomplished the most pronounced and superior results in education, in economic development, highways and traffic safety, and in every facet of the life of North Carolina. He has made us proud of ourselves and enormously proud of him. But this is not the time to look to the future. This is a great nation. It continues to need great men to lead it, to liberate it anew from all its troubles, and to show its proud face to the world once again. We in North Carolina believe that it needs Dan Moore. We know that he has worked in our state to solve the very problems which confront the nation as a whole, and that he is prepared to assume the greater burdens which face America. The measure of a true leader lies in his ability to inspire in others the will and spirit to take on the old problems and find the new ways and the new answers. Dan Moore is such a leader. Where audacity is required, he is audacious. Where moderation is required, he is moderate. Where change is needed, he is progressive. Where caution and care are required, he is conservative. But always, he is courageous. He will be remembered in North Carolina for many things. History will show that throughout his public life, he has repeatedly called for and encouraged respect for law and a sense of justice among all people. He has said, where law and order guide the destiny of states and nations, only then can the forces of progress operate for the good of all citizens. He has said, we have no more crucial task than to inspire in the heart of every man a love and respect for the law, and in those who enforce and administer it, the spirit of equal justice under the law for all citizens. In this sometimes beleaguered land, his voice has been the clarion call to sanity and to order, and his voice has been heard and heeded. As a prosecuting attorney, as a judge, and as governor, he has been the embodiment of the living spirit of the law. The people of North Carolina look to him for safety, for leadership, and for inspiration. Under Dan Moore's leadership, North Carolina was the first state in the Union to establish a committee on law and order. This preceded the establishment of the President's Commission by some 6 months. Under Dan Moore's leadership, strong anti-terrorism measures were enacted by the North Carolina General Assembly. He has succeeded, he has supported law enforcement officers at every turn in his administration. And there were times when he brought order out of chaos and reestablished peace and understanding on all sides. And he said, there are those who are understandably frustrated by their inability to fully share in a growing prosperity. We will seek for them a more productive and satisfying life. This he has done, and he is respected on all sides for having brought superior education, employment, and economic advancement for those who needed it so badly. It is a challenge of the National Democratic Party to discover new leaders and to give new leadership to the people of America. The history of this party has been that it has responded to this challenge, that it has raised the hopes and the dreams of the men and women and children of America and made those dreams come true. We have succeeded as a party because we have found men and women who dared to dream of a better America and who invested their brains and labor in the quest. Like Jefferson, they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to the making of America. We will continue to succeed as a party to the extent that we continue to find the men who can translate these dreams into living programs for all the people of the country. Our governor, Dan Moore, is such a man. It has been a luxury and privilege to have had him as our leader, and we now offer to share him with the nation and the world. This, Mr. Chairman, is a proud moment for North Carolina. We believe that in the act of this nomination, we make a contribution of great value and significance to this convention and to the people of America because we bring forward the name of a good man, a great man, who has the steel and velvet in his being to move the nation and the world. Mr. Chairman, North Carolina proudly places in nomination for the office of President of the United States the name of its great governor, Dan K. Moore. Thank you.
The chair has the honor of passing the gavel to one of the finest members of the House of Representatives, a representative from our host city, the chairman of the Democratic Caucus in the House of Representatives.
As governor, he has initiated studies that will bring about far-reaching changes, needed reform, and long-range planning in education, state-local government relationships, the development of human and natural resources, our tax system, our state constitution, and many other areas essential to the progress of North Carolina. He can and will do the same for America. Governor Moore is a man dedicated to the cause of a better life for his fellow man. He has sincerity of purpose. He is a man of vision and action. Mr. Chairman, Governor Moore has done much for North Carolina. He can do much for America. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Scott. The convention will be in order. The convention will be in order. Will the Sergeant-at-Arms clear the aisles, please? Will the Sergeant-at-Arms clear the aisles, please? Will the Sergeant-at-Arms clear the aisles, please? The chair wishes to direct his remarks to the ladies and gentlemen delegates in the right aisle of the chair. The proceedings of this convention will not continue until those aisles are cleared.
people in the aisles to the right of the chair please take their seats? The proceedings of this convention will take place only after there is order in the convention hall. And I ask the cooperation of the gentlemen and lady delegates on the floor. Is that New York?
Play the Star Spangled Banner. Ask the orchestra to play the Star Spangled Banner. That's a good idea. Ask the orchestra to give us the music.
I think they've got them out. I just ask everybody to sit down and
Well, may I have the cooperation of the delegates? Would you please take your seats? May I have the cooperation of the delegates? Would you please take your seats? I think the exercise has concluded. It is now my privilege to introduce, for the purpose of seconding the nomination of the governor of the state of North Carolina for the presidency, the Honorable Senator Sam Ervin of the great state of North Carolina. Senator Ervin.
Mr. Chairman, fellow delegates, tonight America is praying in these eloquent words of a great poet. God give us men. A time like this demands strong minds, great hearts, true faith, and ready hands. Men whom the lust of office does not kill. Men whom the spoils of office cannot buy. Men who have opinions and a will. Men who have honor. Men who will not lie. Men who can stand before the demagogue and damn his treacherous flatteries without winking. Tall men, sun-crowned, who live above the fault in public duty and in private thinking. I have the high honor tonight to second the nomination of a man who is the answer to this prayer, the able and distinguished and the beloved governor of North Carolina, Dan K. Moore.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chair respectfully requests that the chairman, seated on the floor with their delegations, cooperate with the chair to maintain order, and that the sergeant-at-arms proceed up and down the aisles to help the chairman maintain the order that's necessary to carry on the business of this convention. Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the convention, Carl Albert.
The clerk will continue the call of the roll of the states.
Alaska. Alaska. Mr. Chairman. Alaska, Mr. Chairman, by unanimous vote, yields to the state of California for the purpose of making a nomination. I cannot hear the remarks of the chairman of the Alaska delegation. I'm sorry.
Just repeat it.
Alaska, Mr. Chairman, yields to the state of California for the purpose of making a nomination. California.
Mr. Chairman,
California,
California yields to Iowa and its great governor, Harold Hughes, for the purposes of a nomination.
the governor,
Mr. Chairman, Iowa desires recognition of Governor Harold Hughes to place a candidate in nomination.
the chair recognizes the distinguished governor of Iowa for the purpose of placing in nomination the name of a candidate.
The demonstrators that a permit for their rally had been granted, quote, in the interest of free speech and assembly, end quote. The handbills also said that no permit for a march to the amphitheater had been granted, and that demonstrators would get nowhere but to a jail cell if they tried to march. Some elderly spectators watched.
Will delegates kindly be seated? Will delegates kindly assume their seats? Delegates will be seated. We must continue. clerk will now continue the call of the states, and the convention will be in order.
Arizona.
Mr. Chairman,
Get their attention again.
Mr. Chairman, Arizona yields to California for the purpose of allowing the mayor of San Francisco to place a name in nomination.
Mr. Chairman,
California.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
California.
Mr. Chairman, if I could take 1 minute of the convention's time to explain a mix-up which happened before, I would deeply appreciate it. In this business, you only have your word. I was under the impression when Alaska yielded that they were yielding to me so that I could fulfill a pledge which I had made an hour and a half ago to Senator McCarthy to yield to Iowa to allow Governor Hughes to place his name in nomination. It appears that pursuant to my conversation with the Vice President this morning when he asked me to place a person who will put him in nomination now upon my delegation, which I agreed to with great eagerness, that Alaska had yielded for that purpose. I am sorry for the confusion. I would have done that had I been under that impression, but I was not led to believe that he was being put on for the purpose of a nominating speech, but for the purpose of a seconding speech. I do now introduce the mayor of San Francisco, a great mayor, a great Californian, and one who I'm sure that shortly or in the long run will be seen a lot more of in Democratic Party politics, the Honorable Joseph Alioto.
It is now my privilege to introduce, for the purpose of placing in nomination, name of a candidate, the great mayor of a great American city, the Honorable Mayor Alioto, Mayor of San Francisco.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I came here from San Francisco to talk to you about Hubert Horatio Humphrey.
May the chair make a statement. The demonstration now taking place will be taken out of the time of the mayor.
I came here to talk to you about the man who has been for 20 years, right up to the present time, the articulate exponent of the aspirations of the human heart for the young, for the old, and for those of us in between. I'm not going to read to you, but I am going to ask you to project yourselves to January 20th, 1969, to project yourselves to the steps of the great Capitol in Washington, and in your mind's eye, to picture a man standing on those steps with his hand raised, pledging that he will execute the office of the President of the United States, and that he will, in accordance with his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, so help him God. That man will look down on a country that is gripped in an earnest desire to find its way out of the confusion and the frustrations that now infect this country. And the people at that moment will be looking for a decisive leader, a leader of experience who has exemplified his ability to preserve the very best that we have in our past, while he accommodates what we have in the present to the demands of our future. Let me put it directly to you. That man, on January 20th of 1969, is going to have to be an extraordinary man. And if he isn't an extraordinary man, the burdens of that office will crush him, and the turbulence of the times will overwhelm us. Now, I want you to stay a little while longer in Washington, D.C., and on January 20th, and to ask yourselves, what challenges will that man have to meet? He's going to have to meet the challenges of the unfinished business of democracy, which is always to preserve for all of the people, young, old, and in between, those great values of democracy, which are freedom, justice, and peace. These have always been the great values of America. But there is a difference today. That difference is that a resurgent America is asking that those great values be made available to everybody and not just to some. We are impatient in this day of ours, impatient with justice that is enjoyed by some to the full, by some partially, and by millions not at all. We are impatient today with a freedom that is bestowed in full on some, partially on others, and is a frustration for millions of others. We are impatient today that peace, which is the universal yearning of the human heart of all Americans, that peace is too slow in coming. And the leader we ask for is a leader who can be impatient as he has always been impatient with that plight which pictures too many travelers, too many men in that pathetic position envisioned by Matthew Arnold when he spoke of those pilgrims who travel between two worlds, one dead and the other powerless to be born. We need a leader who will see that that comes to an end. Now let us put the question directly. Is there such a man? The cynics will tell you that no one human being can have that kind of impact on human history. But I will tell you that that man who can accomplish this is going to be selected right here in Chicago. Right here in Chicago. And he is going to be elected in November. Hubert Humphrey is a man who has literally practiced the art of the improbable and the impossible. He has literally practiced it. I ask those of you who are young and think you are finding things anew to think back on the fact that he was told that a 34-year-old man without political experience could not be elected mayor of Minneapolis when he rallied the youth to a crying call of changing things as they were. But he did it. He did it. And he was told that a mayor without the legal power to do so couldn't get rid of crime and couldn't get rid of discrimination. But he did it. He was told that no man so young could put together two competing progressive systems in the state of Minnesota. But he did it. Impossible or not, he did it. He was told that no Democrat could be elected senator from Minnesota. This is what he was told, and there never had been. Not in the history of Minnesota, there never had been a Democrat elected. But he was elected. Go down the list, you who are talking about the inflexible status quo, and you who are mouthing words like new options. Go down the list of civil rights, of the Peace Corps, of food for peace, of nuclear disarmament, of Medicare. Go down that list and you will see over the entire period of time a man who has been imaginative and creative for every one of us. Go down that list. Everything this man has done has combined a recognition that we have a precious heritage out of which we have crystallized a good deal of wisdom, and we revere it. But this man is no wanderer in history. He respects it, and he gets inspired by history, but he has always exhibited the kind of creative imagination that can take us from one political set of facts to a new set of facts and yet preserve all of those values that have been dear to us. It isn't enough, I say, that you mouth to the youngsters, that you mouth this talk about new options and the inflexible status quo, for here is a man who has done more than any other discernible man in the last 20 years to bring America not only to the recognition of what is old and good, but what is new and good as well, and he's going to continue to do that. As Hubert Humphrey, as Hubert Humphrey now moves from a member of a team, a good, loyal member of a great team, as he moves from a member to the captain of that team, you will see that he will shape the events of the present for the very future that all of us demand, young, old, and in between again. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present to this convention the name of Hubert Horatio Humphrey as nominee for the President of the United States. Thank you very much.
Candidate that I am proud of, and I come here lonely from my own state, without support in my own state, to espouse the cause of one of the greatest of all Americans, and it is a great honor to nominate for the presidency of the United States, George McGovern.